More bad news for Germany. The latest numbers are not looking good. I am going to read this article from The Guardian describing what's the latest going on with Germany's economy. So, German recession fears amid big decline in industrial production. Again, industry is a major strength of the German economy, but it's not all of the German economy. My guess is that industry is like maybe a fifth or a quarter of the German economy. Still, industry is the powerhouse of the German economy, so it's still very significant news. It's just not as definitive as the numbers for the whole economy will be when they come out in a few weeks. I'm talking about the second quarter growth numbers that will probably be out next week or the week after that. Well, anyway, let's see what The Guardian has to say about these latest numbers. Sales of cars and machine parts to Far East fall as U.S. trade conflict takes its toll. Again, Germany is highly dependent on trade. Exports are around 45% of its economy. So if China weakens, or any other of its customers, and there's nowhere else to pick up the slack in that demand, Germany's going to lose a huge chunk of its economy. So it's just very vulnerable to that regard. And I would argue that Germany's past growth policies were a very precarious growth strategy, because if you depend on exports, you're reliant on conditions outside your control, and if factors change that make your exports no longer in demand, then that's it, your economic system's through. And it seems like that's exactly what's happening. German industrial production has suffered its biggest annual decline in 9 years after the escalating trade war between the US and China took its toll on exports. Europe's economic engine, which has increasingly relied on exports to Asia to bolster factory output, exports to a rapidly developing Asia that's moving up the value chain, was left teetering on the edge of recession in the second quarter after a 1.5% fall in industrial production in June, which is expected to be repeated in July. So if this is month on month, then a 3% fall in production over 2 months is absolutely horrible. I know that quarterly results blip up and down more than annualized results, but still, I think the numbers in the previous month before this weren't that good either, so like mediocre numbers followed by a fall this deep is just pretty bad. Though I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, so let's continue. Output fell across the 3 months to June by 1.8% compared with the first quarter of the year. Oh, it's quarter over quarter. Which is really bad for a 3-month period, because again, a 3-month period would have a more stable performance and less varied than a 1-month period. Production and construction fell 1.1% in the second quarter, while energy output dropped 5.9% in the same period. Analysts blame the slump largely on a decline in sales of machine parts and cars to China and the Far East, where falling currency values have made imports more expensive. Again, they say China's having deeper structural problems with its economy that are only being made worse or exacerbated by the trade conflict. But this video isn't about China, and I haven't been paying too close attention to that economy, so let's see what else they have to say. Fiona Sincata, a senior market analyst at City Index, said, if traders needed further evidence of the slowing global economy, they only need to look toward German industrial production figures, as if on cue, and adding to traders' woes, data from Germany showed that industrial production dropped 1.5% month-on-month in June, significantly worse than the 0.5% decline forecast. So the industrial production numbers are really bad. Fears the global economy is sliding toward recession have gripped financial markets in recent weeks. A recent escalation of trade war between the US and China heightened tensions. Donald Trump threatened to expand the number of Chinese goods affected by the punitive tariffs and accused Beijing of being a currency manipulator for allowing the yuan to decline in value. China responded by accusing the US of breaching international trade rules. The German Economy Ministry previously welcomed an increased industrial orders that exceed expectations in June, but said the sector had not yet reached a turning point, citing Brexit uncertainty as further reason for caution. Ralph Salveen, a Commerce Bank economist, said the industrial figures supported expectations that the German economy shrank slightly in the second quarter and that manufacturing output was likely to decline in the coming months. So if the German economy actually outright shrinks in the second quarter, that is absolutely horrible. Because they've been doing really badly in the previous quarters, so that might put them close to an outright year-over-year decline, which would be a big deal. Even if they grow like 0.3% year-over-year in the second quarter, their population is growing 0.3%, so in per capita terms, they're completely flat. Again, we don't know exactly what the numbers will be, so I'm going to wait until I actually have the numbers in front of me before I make any more important pronouncements. So this is just speculation for right now. A look at the individual sectors shows that the crisis in the automotive sector is continuing unabated, Sullivan said, adding that car production had not recovered from the slump caused by problems associated with last year's switch to a new emissions standard. I remember when they tried to pin the beginning of Germany's problems on just a blip because they were switching production, but no, it seems to be something much more substantive and fundamental that's going on a year later. However, the main reason for this weakness is now likely to be significantly weaker foreign demand. The EU and the German government forecast that the economy will grow by 0.5% this year, before rebounding in 2020 to expand by 1.5%. In 2017, the German economy grew by 2.2%. Andreas Schruli from DekaBank said the industrial data suggested the economy contracted by 0.2% in the second quarter after expanding by 0.4% in the first 3 months of the year. We assume that this is the prelude to a technical recession. So if he's right, then Germany will shrink in another quarter after this. Let's see if that happens in a couple of months. Schruli said, a technical recession is nominally defined as at least 2 quarters of contraction in a row. The Federal Statistics Office will release preliminary gross domestic product figures for the April-June period next Wednesday. Yeah, see, just like I said, they're going to release the fourth quarter numbers next Wednesday, and we'll officially know exactly how the German economy did in the second 3-month period of the year. And it's not looking good so far, and if it is as bad as they say, then Germany's economy is doing absolutely horribly. Well, all they need to recover is China to magically overcome its structural issues, and somehow manage not to continue and move on to a less capital-intensive phase of growth, and that China is just going to suddenly stop moving up the value chain right where it is, rather than continue to do that and become a direct competitor with Germany's exports. Because we all know China is so horrible at adopting new technology and exporting. Well, that's it for the video. If you liked it, please like, comment, share with anyone you think might be interested, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell.